Let's hit the pause button on this testimony from Dr. Rentschler and bring in criminal defense attorney John Day from Santa Fe, New Mexico. John, great to see you. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. Let's talk about Dr. Rentschler because he is specifically there to focus on the injuries. And we heard that from the first ARCA witness a lot of times, that he said, I'm not the one who focused on injuries. So here we're hearing the nitty-gritty of what he believes proves that John O'Keefe could not have been hit by a vehicle. How's it standing out to you? Is it compelling, you think, to this jury?
Right, thanks for having me. You know, the thing about experts is jurors listen to them. A lot of the times their eyes are glazing over because this is not their area. Their experts are, they have slides, they have charts, they have articles, they have things highlighted in yellow. And at this point in a trial, I think a lot of times jurors they're listening, but they also know that these are battling experts. They know that they're hired guns, and so they know that each side is bringing in someone to support their side. We know that in closing, the lawyers are going to pull it all together. But at this point, I think, you know, Rentschler had a moment where he was wishing his kid a happy birthday. I mean, that is not a very serious moment. Whether that affects the jury, we don't know. But I think at this point, they're just sitting there taking it in a little bit. But they know this is a battle of two sides and that both sides are getting paid for this.
Does a battle between two sides in terms of what happened to Karen Read inherently help the defense? Because if they can't agree, maybe I can't as a juror.
Right, good question. At the end of the day, of trial testimony, if there's reasonable doubt coming out of the mouth of this expert, even a little bit that backs up a juror's skepticism, then the defense is scoring points. And I think actually up to this point, the defense experts have been a little bit more effective, a little bit snarky, actually, which I don't know how that cuts with these jurors. But, you know, if they're establishing enough reasonable doubt, of course, it's going to be successful. But again, in the eyes of the jurors, they might be glazing over just a little bit.
We could soon know how they feel about this testimony because we are on the defense's last witness. So after rebuttal and closing arguments, this jury is going to get this case. John, stand by. We're going to get in a break. More Karen Read murder retrial on the other side. Plus, we're going to get you an update out of New York where that really important victim witness is on the stand testifying under the pseudonym Jane. And they've given her a deadline of how long the defense can question her. That's next. All right, they are taking that full break now, so let's bring in criminal defense attorney John Day, see what he thinks about what we've been seeing so far. When you think about the injuries that we're seeing on John O'Keefe's body, how much weight do you think the jurors are going to give to the expertise versus their own common sense about things that everyone eventually sees? People have seen their children or themselves get injured in certain situations.
Right, and that's kind of the main point, is jurors use their own common sense, their own life experience. They'll look at they're listening to this expert testimony. Is it consistent with their own experiences day to day? I mean, none of these jurors have probably ever interacted with a biomechanics expert, and they probably never will again. And so they don't have any sort of reference point to say, okay, that was the best biomechanics expert I've ever seen. They're basically looking at these people as hired guns, one for the prosecution, one for the defense, or two, whatever it is. But they're going to go back at the end of the day when they're in the jury room deliberating. It's going to be their own personal life experience that is really going to trump any kind of expert testimony, at least in my experience.
We're waiting for Brennan's cross. He's been very aggressive with the other experts so far. Do you expect the same here, or does he run a bit of a risk of extending this too long, to your point earlier, of the glaze factor?
Well, you know, jurors want to be fair. They want to hear cross. Of course, cross is always the exciting, sexy part. And I want to hear what Brennan's going to do, especially in this particular, with this witness. But at the end of the day, at the end of the cross, you still got the jurors saying, okay, I've heard from one side, I've heard from the other side. There were a lot of facts, figures, you know, percentiles, things up on the screen that were highlighted in yellow.
Yeah. All right, let's get a break, get the cross. We'll watch it together, see what Brennan does. We'll be picking it up after the mid-morning break's conclusion and the beginning of the cross-examination of the good doctor. Stay with us.